Hey, it's living life with Nani and Bobo.
Welcome back, my friends. We're here again.
It's been some ugly, ugly weather, so we haven't been out. We've really been kind of stir crazy around here. A lot of snow in Northeast.
Well, it was -4 or something this morning, so.
That's Northeast Ohio, but kind of stalled everything, and we haven't really gotten back to our videos. But we're here today.
Here we are.
And today, after reading some disturbing things on YouTube and other places about a certain church, we're not going to name names and everything, of some things that took place where they didn't handle stuff properly, and they just really didn't, what would you say, for their flock?
And they didn't really protect their flock all that well. Their congregants.
They had learned information about a speaker that they had supported, and their books and all that stuff, and they found out some damaging, evidence. They looked into it. They found that it was true, and they sat on that and did nothing until a video came out that kind of forced them to deal with it all. So for us, it just brought up a lot of reminders of what we had been through in the church. So we thought we would tackle a little bit. We're not attacking any churches. We're not attacking pastors. We're not doing any of that kind of stuff. We're just talking about our experience and kind of how it just brought it to the surface again. And we were a little, had to deal with that again.
So our story starts, we talked a little bit about this on Guam when I was there in the Navy during the war. And we had both, our experience with Christ began there. Seven of us one day answered the altar call at a Baptist church on the island, and they took us under their wing and made sure we understand what we were doing and what the whole born again experience was about. And pastor came to our house once a week, and the people in the church just took us under their wing. And then when we come back to the States, we were attending a small little Foursquare gospel church with the best pastor that we've ever had in life, and he's our standard now. He just recently passed, though.
He was what you would call a true shepherd. He worked full time. He cared about his flock, and he would do anything for you. And so he really was our standard. And then circumstances led us out of that church and more to a church that was in our new community that we had moved to. That was 36 some odd years ago. And
I got to tell you a quick little story about Pastor McQuarrie, though. He worked, he was a meat cutter. He worked 8 hours a day and then pastored a church. He didn't just, live off people's tithes. But he was in palliative care, basically dying, and I went to visit him. And, the whole time he's just happy as could be, singing, preaching. And then as I was getting ready to leave, I said, Pastor, I'm going to go. And he looked at me and just as clear-eyed as could be. And he asked me, he says, Terry, do you need any money?
And that's a pastor. He had a pastor's heart to the day he passed away. He would give you anything.
Not that we needed any money. I don't know why you even said that.
He lived a very humble life. To the day he died, he preached the gospel. He cared about people.
Tremendous, man.
Just tremendous. So that was always our standard.
Yeah.
And so when we went to this community church in our neighborhood, and we were there for 10 years, and then a new pastor came in, and that didn't go real well, and so we felt we had to move on. Well, we ended up in a starter church, and we just loved it. We were excited. We were thrilled, and he was a young pastor who got married, and that didn't go really well after a few years. We were there for what?
I know it sounds like we're church hopping, but that's not it.
And that's why the point I'm saying of how long we stayed everywhere. And we stayed there for probably 6-7 years.
And we're deeply involved, trust me.
Very deeply involved. We stayed even at times when we knew we might need to go, but we didn't leave on our own accord. He drove us out because this is our opinion. Now again, these are all our opinions. he felt very threatened by us, like we were trying to move in on his territory, and he was just that he had some issues. And then my sister was there, and he actually advised my sister to disown us, never talk to us again. He went to anytime somebody left, he went to the people and said, you can't talk to them anymore, you can't be their friend, even if it was a family member. He did it to his own family members. So it was it was so hard, it had just about destroyed us. And it took us a few years. We just laid back, built our faith up, tried not to let that interfere with our relationship with God. And then in about a couple years, another starter church.
Yeah, we they were in a school, and we just, jumped in both feet, did whatever we could. They wound up getting a building, so we moved into the building. Susan wound up doing the church books and all that stuff. I wound up as an associate pastor. Did prison ministry with the church, and this particular pastor, he wanted a big mega church, wealthy church. That was kind of his thing, and that wasn't happening. So long story short, him and his wife kind of slipped away in the night, and left everybody hanging. And the vast majority of people that were in that church, are no longer, involved in church anywhere.
So it was a lot of hurt, a lot of pain. We thought we'd be there forever. We were so excited when we got that building. Everyone poured money, everything into it. Yeah. We all believed this was where we were going to be for
here's an
example
long
time
of what was going on. So we were doing prison ministry, and once a month, Sundays, tithes, there was a special, tithe offering for prison ministry. Well, Susan and I never saw a dime of that money. All the prison ministry we did, taking people, buying people's lunches and gas and came out of our pocket. That's fine, not a big deal. But the fact was that same thing with the building fund. So once a month, there was a special offering for a building fund. Well, all of that money just disappeared.
And, we're not going to go into all the details because that would be just nothing but gossip. And but one thing that really, really struck me when I saw this whole thing that kind of unfolded over the weekend of this big, big mega church was just that old school thinking that you don't say anything because that makes you a gossip.
Well, it's gossip, and backbiting. Yeah.
You're backbiting. You don't say a word. And meanwhile, I'm sorry, they get away with this. People get hurt. Nobody deals with the victims that were involved. And it doesn't have to be a scandal of sexual abuse.
No.
Like for us, it wasn't any scandal, but it was a scandal in the sense that you left in the middle of the night and you sold the church and nobody ever heard from you again.
And one of the things, and again, trust me, it's not our goal to church bash. That's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to understand the contemporary church today. You can't talk about it because it's backbiting or it's gossiping. And on top of that, well, I'm an anointed pastor. God's anointed me, so I kind of get special dispensation or something. So, and then they just kind of go about their way, and I even had a pastor say to me, Terry, it's just business. The church is not business.
No, it's not business.
I mean, there's business involved. But
I'm sorry. Again, going back to our standard, he shepherded the flock.
Right.
There was no shepherding. This was about building church and a big church, making money, and again, a business.
And trust me, it's just so egregious sounding. And we're not trying to church bash. And we've tried to become involved in churches again. And
as we said in a past video.
Yeah, in a previous video, we talked about that. If you have gray hair, they're not too interested in what you have to offer, which is the opposite to me, because after doing this for 5 decades, we know something.
But again, going back to this issue over the weekend, it just kind of reminded me again why I don't pursue it anymore. To me, I'm all about let's find the fellowship, let's find community, let's build each other up. I don't want to support a building. That's never, in my opinion, what Christ intended was a building.
I'll give you a quick synopsis of what our view of church is. You go to church, if you're a young Christian, you go there to get fed and mature, and you go on, Paul talked about it, you stop drinking the milk and you go on to eating the meat because you get a little bit deeper. And then once you get established and matured, now it's incumbent upon you as a Christian to serve. Simple as that. Church is not someplace where you go and you sit on a pew for 45 minutes for an hour and listen to somebody preach to you and then you go about your way. That's not church. Church is, it's community and it's about serving. So
it just brought up a lot of bad memories. Let's just say that we kind of had to work through, and that was, again, we'll get through it. We always do. Come out on the other side stronger, but it saddens my very soul of what's going on in churches all over this country.
Right. Trust me, churches, our children, all three of them were raised in church. Sorry, got out of view. Were raised in church. Church is wonderful, especially for young families with young kids. There's a definite need for church, But
I got to tell you, the most hurt and pain I've experienced was
other
from
Christians.
church.
Other
was
Christians.
From churches.
Somebody once said that the Christian army is the only one that shoots their wounded.
And it's so true. And I know we're not talking about anything new. It's all out there. So many people have been so hurt and so much pain from church, and so much legalism, so much of the do's and the don'ts, but not enough of building up and working with you and praising you and making you into what you need to be, which is just a loving servant of Christ, to want to follow him because you love him, not because the pastor got up there and told me, don't do this and don't do that. You talk to this one, it all sounds crazy.
If you try and live your Christian life by a set of rules and regulations, first of all, you missed the boat, because Christ said, I already fulfilled the law. So, and it's not about works. You're not saved by works. Yeah, works are great. Paul talked about that. Faith without works is dead. But yes, but it's not about works.
So we just wanted to talk a little bit about that again. It's just, it saddened my soul, and it caused me to really recognize that this is still a big, huge issue. We cover, and we don't care about the victims.
Well, a lot of people, they go crazy about the Catholic Church. Oh, all the priests, they keep moving around and they don't do anything about it. Well, sad to say that in the Protestant evangelical church, there's a lot of stuff that goes on that's covered. We have a sign that we made in our house that says "Choose Truth," and that's not all. Sometimes the ministry becomes bigger than the gospel, and we have to protect the ministry and not our people.
So that's what happened to us. We can go into grave detail, but there's no sense in that. I would love to have had those pastors that hurt us so deeply held responsible. But I was told by many and many leaders, leave it alone, let it go. God will take care of it. And I believe all that. Trust me, I do. And I've worked through it. It's been many, many years. But when I hear these stories, it just strikes the pain in my soul. Like, why are they still doing this? Why isn't the church better than it?
And that's one of the reasons for starting this channel. I know there's many, many, many other people out there that have experienced the same thing we have. And again, trust me, we are not beating up the church. I love the church, but right now, it's, I don't know, it's in a state of disarray, I think. But we want to start a community. That's what this is to be. I'm not trying to take away from church. We're not telling you
No.
to come here, this is our church,
No.
and leave your church. We're not doing any of
No.
that. We just want to reach out to people and have a little community of Bible-believing Christians. My walk with God is based on the same principles it is with my wife. There's things I do that I know will please her, and there's things that I don't do that I know will displease her. Same situation with my relationship with God. Not hard.
So that's part of, like he said, we know there's other people out there, and that have probably even worse stories than we did, because we didn't go into a whole lot of detail. We did a lot of what we were told, cover. Right. We even confronted some situations, and we were told you're either with us or you're not.
That's what started our spiral in actually the first church. I had questioned one time that, why are we spending big money on dinners for the staff? That's people's tithe money. And that was the beginning of the slide. Once these types of individuals see that you're not, part of their mindset, you gotta go.
And then another incident at the other church was they literally put a curtain up. Oh. These are the elite that get fed by those on the other side of the curtain.
We had a big time visiting pastor come.
And so all the staff and that pastor and whoever he brought were on the other side of the curtain, and wow, we were blown away, and we did not feel good about that one. And again, probably, I don't even remember if we questioned it. I'm sure.
Oh, I did. No, I remember I went and I sat on the other side of the curtain with all the people.
And so, like Terry said, once you start questioning anything, now you're on the outside, and they look for ways to get rid of you. It's so sad.
If you find yourself in and again, we'll never tell anybody what to do to leave a church. Never will we tell that. But
never.
If you see things that you question, don't ignore them. Don't ignore them. Question them. And
you have every right.
Any good leader would accept those kind of discussions because they want things to be better.
And we're not about division. That was one thing why we
tried.
Part of why we kept our mouths shut, because we didn't want division. We are all about unity, and we're all about us all being together and fitting together. But I think we have a right to question.
God has been so good to Susan and I. We are so blessed. So we just want to share that. And it's not, church is important, but your relationship with God is not dependent upon church. I heard a saying once that going to church makes you no more a Christian than going to the library makes you a book. It's your relationship, that personal relationship. Church, wonderful. We're just sharing our experience, that's all.
And we just wanted to talk about that because I'm sure there's others who probably know what I've been talking about that saw all that. And you start to question stuff and you wonder, am I alone? Am I wrong? Am I thinking? No.
All right, not. Well, we don't want to go too much longer because y'all are probably tired of listening to us already. So we just want to share, that's all.
So please hit the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up so we can keep on doing these YouTube videos.
And tell us your thoughts, put in the comments, what are your experiences? We'd love to share them.
Yes.
All right, folks, God bless. It's always a pleasure. So I hope you're warmer than we are. Because I got to tell you, it's not warm right here.